Alrighty guys, let's take a look at in this video how should we be preparing ourselves for the memory stocks, AI stocks, chip stocks going into this week. A lot of good stuff I want to talk to you about in this video. We are just around the corner, okay? And as I mentioned that last week, I wanted to see just a stabilization. I wasn't looking for huge big moves, but just a stabilization. Have we gotten enough stabilization this last week that this week we are good to rip straight through the roof to the upside? How do we manage our risk? How should we be reading this market? Let's talk about all of that once I let you know. None of this is any financial advice, only for education purposes, just sharing my opinion. Please do your own thing. Now, before we start this video, I want to take you over a really good put together article over here. Okay, and what this article talks about is the memory and the chip stocks. There is still demand quite a lot. Now, Elon Musk said something in the SpaceX call. He did vouch for Nvidia quite a lot. And Elon said very bullish stuff about memory. So SK Hynix. Now, Nvidia is definitely, as you know, is an all-rounder, all right? And SpaceX announcement that it has partnered with Nvidia to construct its flagship Starmind AI satellite compute payload cements the giant's absolute dominance across non-terrestrial hardware frontiers. Nvidia is an all-rounder, and that's not where our worry is. Nvidia, as you can see on the chart, already is in the bullish strength, which started from the zone that I told you about, 204. Overall full on bullish strength, and before that 195 till 204, that was a multi-day strength. So Nvidia is nothing to worry here, right? However, if you look at SK Hynix, you know, it's making a lot of you worried. Micron, it's making you a lot of worried, right? I'm reading posts on Reddit that you know, Redditors are just talking about, oh, please get to my break-even price at the top. I mean, because that's where they bought. But the point is that, and we'll get to the price action in just a moment. I want to first take you over the SK Hynix and Micron part, because during the call, Elon Musk pinpointed memory output constraints as the definitive bottleneck constraining global AI deployment, noting that while DRAM production grows at 20% annually, demand surges above 200% as the undisputed heavyweight in high bandwidth memory, holding over half of the global market. SK Hynix stands as the primary structural beneficiary of this structural deficit. Wow, a lot of structures here. The South Korean semiconductor leader recently solidified its market position by executing a historic multi-year $500 billion strategic infrastructure and supply agreement with Nvidia centered around the Vera Rubin platform. All right. SK Hynix remains exceptionally undervalued relative to its structural earnings tailwinds. All right. Then we have Micron. While top-tier memory rivals commit the overwhelming majority of their fabrication capacity to fulfill the high-margin HBM contracts, Micron is reaping immense rewards from the resulting supply void in the standard DRAM and NAND flash. As the conventional memory prices escalate even faster than specialized HBM stacks due to acute global capacity allocation shifts, Micron's operational blend positions offer maximum margin exposure. All right. Micron has steadily closed the gap in global DRAM revenue share, proving that a dual focus on high-performance enterprise storage and conventional DRAM yields phenomenal pricing power during a supply supercycle. Memory is not going anywhere. Memory is not going anywhere. This is where the opportunities are. Okay, what the price action has been doing, that's okay. This is how market works. Technicals are, this is where market is giving you opportunity. If you want to capture that opportunity with me on the DRAM portfolio, DRAM is the answer, but you cannot buy things blindly. You may still lose money if you, like, for example, Micron. Yeah, it's a great, we just went over stuff. But if you bought Micron over here, you're already what? 50%, 30 at one point, 40% down, now 35% down, right? So it's not that you can just buy blindly. If you want to follow along my DRAM moves, get access to my free DRAM portfolio by just joining Trading Tools plus Stocks Coverage membership on my Patreon. Link is in the description of this video. Don't miss out. We are already in the profits, guys. Since the time I started my DRAM portfolio, 21st of July, technically you can see stock price has gone negative. Stock price has gone negative by 14% already. At one point it was down 24.5% since the time I started my portfolio. However, all throughout this time, my DRAM portfolio has stayed green, in the money, in the profit. How? Well, join my DRAM portfolio and get to see it for yourself. You will learn along the ways a lot of things. Trade like institutions, guys. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at now price action here. So we will start off with Micron. Now, as I said last week, I wanted to see stabilization. So far, Micron has given me just that, and I'm really excited about that. We did see a compression quite a lot. Now, you know what? Technically, we haven't had really a bad fall on Micron. Yes, you would see like, oh, what are you talking about? Not a bad fall. At one point, we were 41% down. That's okay. That's okay. That's from the top. Okay, not like a given top, but from the recent top is what I mean. And so this is still not a huge compression, guys. Even from the last run-up consolidation from $463, it was up 170%. Out of even 170%, which is just from this what? From April, you just got a compression of 40%. The thing is still up in 3 digits percent. Okay, so this is not a huge fall. Definitely someone if bought here, which I never told you to buy. I told you to get out, right? So right now, Micron still is not bad. Now, the bottom formation this week, right? So far, Micron has given last week all the signs of stabilization. Risk management is still important, though, regardless. Let's get to the hourly interval. Micron will remain good for us to the upside as we continue to hold this reference line and we stay above $830. Yellow zone, to put it simply, that is a 820 to 8 almost 50. We stay above this zone, we are all good on Micron. If we lose it, we may be going for a retest at that green zone then, around $769, this area, if we start to lose yellow zone, which indicates that you may want to do some risk management, because what that would do right now, Micron has gained enough strength, or enough stabilization I should say, that even though it's not full on bullish, but this stabilization is sufficient enough that we have been in the multi-day strength over here. And I have been telling you this very thing. I told you, fear not, this is the buying zone. In this multi-day strength, we bounced right off from there, and that's why we are in the multi-day strength, given that we are not overall bullish, but this is the part of stabilization. But also, having said that, you should, because losing 830 will put us back in the multi-day weakness, which means stabilization is fading away. Since it hasn't compressed too much like Sandisk and all, Micron, if it start to lose, it can a little bit make lower moves. It still has room to do that. Very important to stay above 830 this week. We stay above it, we are all good. Below that is where you will have to do risk management. Keep an eye on the level below as well, that is 770. All right, So that's something to look at. Right now in the price action, 830 above Micron is just fine. We are pointing to the upside. Below 830, no, we will have to a little bit wait again. Then that is the weakness is stepping in, and we gotta risk manage if you are taking a trading position. All right, okay, so let's move on to Sandisk. Now Sandisk, unlike Micron, closed in a bit of a weakness. It did lose its structural support at 1300, unfortunately, which it did lose 2 days ago. However, as I have said to you guys previously, I wanted to see just the stabilization last week. And even if Sandisk comes lower, it doesn't have much room to the downside, in my opinion. All right. So what we have to watch right now, Sandisk is in the weakness, which will look just like this on Micron. If Micron loses its yellow zone, that Sandisk lost. Because what happened then? Sandisk lost its zone, came down to the zone below to test it. It got bought up. Very similar like things as if Micron loses its yellow zone. This is Micron, right? If Micron loses its yellow zone, it's gonna test the green zone below, right over here. Just like what Sandisk did. Okay, Sandisk did get bought up there though, but it's still rejecting at that yellow zone after losing it. So that's the whole thing. The momentum will escape, which it did escape on Sandisk. But as I said, there is, unlike Sandisk though, Micron has, if Micron starts to lose, Micron has a little bit more downside that it can still track, still cover to the downside. It might, because Micron hasn't fallen this much as Sandisk. So, but Sandisk, I do think it has already done its full round trip to the downside. There's, if any more has to happen, there's very little left. Now, what we have to watch this week as a bull on Sandisk, you are watching 1300. At this point, that's the only zone. We have to start to recover above that before we get again back in the bullish strength. If we stay below 1300, we will remain in the weakness right now, at least for coming days. But there is not much downside left. It's just a little bit of weakness will prevail right now if we don't regain 1300. You will have to give it more time to stabilize. At least show us the price action confirmation for that. Yes, these theses can be negated, but it has to show me price action for that, and I'll let you know. Until then, we are risk managing. Where the higher probability is right now is what I'm telling you. SK Hynix. Now, SK Hynix will have to get onto the Korean market side. Let's get to that. Now, SK Hynix guys also did a good bounce, very close from the zone that I told you about. Did a good bounce coming down. That's okay. That's okay. I told you we may do pullbacks. It's doing just that. Now, we may need another week on this to see stabilization. Pretty much, if those other ones as well, Micron, Sandisk, don't do much, we at least want to see a stabilization this week also. Because in case of SK Hynix, what we want to see, as if it comes down to 1,250,000, we want to see it hold and then break out above 1.486, 1,486,000. Excuse me. That starts to give it a good bottom confirmation. What SK Hynix is doing right now is a good area of stabilization possibility. Downside play is, in my opinion, over. There is a downside play from here I told you about. We got to our target. I have been telling you this along the way. This is where I would like to see SK Hynix, got very close. And now, even though overall structure is remaining negative below the red zone, but I do believe this is where we will form a bottom. We just went over the article. Fundamentals are not changing. They are still in high demand. Okay. So the price action is giving you an opportunity to properly risk manage, and that's where my DRAM portfolio comes in. All right. So let's get back over here. So that's your SK Hynix. Pretty much that's how you read it at, guys, as for with NASDAQ as well, where it may do some pullback if it does it, and then we want to see this hold this zone at 125 here. and then break out above like these zones or red zone especially. So excuse me. All right, let's get to Seagate now. So Seagate dancing around, guys, you know, nothing really much to tell you here. What do I mean by that? Nothing much to tell you here. So okay, I'm gonna get rid of this zone though, because this is more of a thing that we may not see much downside on this thing eventually. That may not happen. We would mostly, as I have said to you guys, sideways, a little bit slow crawl and things like that is what we would do. So far it's doing just that. Even if we do lose 700, I do think we don't have much downside on Seagate. So it's mostly doing its sideways thing. It's not much compression, guys, from the time others started to fall. It has just come down, what? Okay, 40%. It has also come down, but nowhere. If you look at it, like this has also made from April the run up of like 155%. So just like Micron, it's not much of a compression, guys. All right, so anyhow, this would most likely also stabilize up here. Nvidia, guys, as I told you that we are just fine, okay. 204 above is where overall structure will turn bullish. That's what I told you, and thereafter you can see we have been going up. Very simply put it, 213, everything will structurally remain bullish on Nvidia. Let's get to the hourly interval. Guys, if you need my tools that marks all these zones automatically for you at significant levels and all good stuff, I have 4 tools. Check out my memberships on the Patreon. Don't miss out. Trade with the tools. Don't trade blindly. And join my trading tools plus stocks coverage, and that way you will get the DRAM portfolio access for free. All right, all that good stuff, bonus. All right, so anyhow, yeah, Nvidia is very strong, still very bullish. Pullbacks along the ways can happen, but overall structure will be fine even until 213. All right, direction remains to the upside. AMD, on the other hand, is in the downside still. You can see $500 is rejecting still. All right, so $500 below, we will continue to remain in the rejection. Let's get to the hourly interval. And on the hourly interval, you can see we tested again, 500, got rejected, sold off. Levels to watch. If we lose 468, we will test again 435. The only way you can look any upside on AMD is breaking out above 500 and closing a day at least above 500 again. So also this getting out of this reference line would be helpful as well to the upside. ARM, yeah, that's fine. It did give us, I told you this will be the bottom after this retest, and this is what actually we want to see on SK Hynix and on almost Sandisk also. But now you get my point, right? This is what I told you. This is what we want to see on SK Hynix eventually. Now, so ARM is, we got to our zone. Structure remains bullish on ARM though, guys. From here it's still bullish right now. What we want to see, not lose 267 area. This is what we want to hold. We hold above it, we are all good. Let's get to the hourly interval. Are we in the trouble? Not yet, not yet. So but better if we stay above 283 and 50 cents to also avoid multi-day weakness. Look at the rejection at that zone, big red candle. But don't worry, volume is not that strong with that big red candle. So what does it mean? Let's get to the 5 minutes interval. It means, and you can see buyers did step in at some of the areas, good volume. This means it's just order filling. When the volume is not accompanying on the sell-off side that aggressively, it just tells you that it's just market makers want to fill in the orders which are sitting below, and that's why they would, because market makers then see the opportunity. If there are no other buyers and sellers, they will remove or expand their bid and the ask spread so that the price can move without much friction. And that's why sometimes you would see big moves but less volume, for this very reason. Anyways, so that's ARM. Let's get to Intel. Intel is towing around at a critical zone of $100, and as we gain above it, it's gaining strength already, and that would be that $100 above. It will again start to recover. So the downside that started at 127, actually I told you about that, It is technically getting, or it's completed technically. That weakness play is over on Intel. Intel $100 above will start to gain strength again. Let's get to the hourly interval. So far looking good. You can give it some room at 95 also actually, but yeah, give it 95 also. So until 95 and 100 we'll be fine. So in other words, let me update some zones. I'm going to get rid of that, we don't need that. And this one actually, let's move it here. This is the zone. You gotta, above that we are technically fine on Intel. Okay, so all right guys, let's move on to Broadcom. Broadcom is also bullish above 404 and 5. I have been telling you we will remain bullish. All pullbacks are getting bought up, all good, be happy. Let's move on to Marvell. Marvell also, I gave you a bottom over here. I told you all these scenarios, and this is the bottom, and we are pushing up. And just like Intel, Marvell is also testing a next strong zone, but it was already bullish from here. We don't need this anymore. I'm going to get rid of that. It has served its purpose. And here, as I have been telling you, we stay above 200, we will be fine. And all pullbacks are also getting bought up, and Marvell continues to remain bullish for us. You can have your trailing area at 200 in this ongoing trade. Cerebras still closing bullish for us. It is a really good base, really good bottom here. And this has been a trade for us as well. 160 below the stop loss. All right. What else is left over here? That's pretty much what I had for you guys in this video. And don't forget to check out my DRAM and also my trading tools that will really help you to get ahead in the market. Don't trade blindly, guys. Trade with the tools. All right. Offers are in the description of this video. And with that, I'll see you in my next videos. Take care. Bye.